Good evening, Sue. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good, Jersey Joe. How are you doing
I'm
tonight?
doing great. Hey, I heard you had a tough loss over the weekend. Penn State dropped one to Ohio State.
Yeah, we were pretty good up until the fourth quarter when Ohio State decided to show up.
Well, you can't win them all, but hopefully we'll still see them in a bowl game. All right. Hey, we got a pretty full show today. We'll try to get it all squeezed in. Let me tell you what we're going to talk about today. Um, First of all, for those who haven't heard before, this is the situation with Jerzee Joe. It's news and perspective you won't hear on TV. And what I mean by perspective, for instance, the other day there was a vote where Republicans voted down. They voted not to renew a free school lunch program, and people saying, "Oh, those Republicans, how terrible!" And and what the media wouldn't tell you is that they didn't vote against the free school lunch program for low income families. That's still in existence. During COVID, the Biden administration had extended it to all kids, regardless of income. So if your parents were driving a Mercedes and a BMW, you were getting free school lunch. Well, the Democrats wanted to extend that, and the Republicans said, hey, no, they don't need it. And if the states want to do it, let the states pay for it. So the Republicans, trying to be fiscally responsible, said, no, we're not going to vote to renew giving free school lunches to parents whose kids whose parents are driving Mercedes and BMWs. Yet the media made them out to be evil bastards for voting not to extend that modified school lunch program. But trust me, if you're a low income family, your kid is still getting a free lunch. All right. The quote of the day is going to be on the topic of inflation. It's been attributed to Ronald Reagan. I've been unable to verify that, but it's a great quote on inflation. And our science minute will ask the question, what is more rare in the universe, wood or diamonds, and why? And we'll fact check Biden's claim he made in a speech last week that gas was $5 a gallon on the day he was inaugurated, which was January 21st in 2021. We'll talk about Germany taking down wind turbines so that they can mine for coal. I don't know if you heard about that. You hear about that one, Sue?
That one I didn't hear about.
Well, we'll talk about that. And we'll talk about how the price of natural gas went negative in Texas last week. If you were a natural gas producer, you actually had to pay people to take the natural gas you were producing, and we'll talk about that. And our taxpayer relief shot tonight comes from Charlotte, North Carolina, where the highlight of the call is an absolutely incompetent 911 operator who just doesn't seem to comprehend. There's a grandmother on the phone trying to tell her that her grandson has just shot and killed an intruder, and the 911 operator just doesn't seem to get it. So you think we can squeeze that in 30 minutes?
You always seem to amaze me.
All right. Well, here's our quote of the day. And whether or not he said it, I think it's incredibly true. Inflation is the price we pay for all of those government benefits we thought were free. Remember those $1,400 check you got from the government back, but in 2020, was it 2021 or 2020? Actually,
Yeah, I think that there was actually both from the pandemic.
Right, there was a $1,200 check followed by a $1,400 check. Government spending, by the way, ballooned. We were spending about $4 trillion a year. Government spending went from $4 trillion a year to $6.8 trillion a year. It grew by 70%. You cannot flood the economy with that much monopoly money and not have inflation. And by the way, now some people like AOC will argue that printing money is not the cause of inflation. Well, let me ask you this question. What do you think would happen if that was true? Then why do we bother having an income tax? If what AOC said was true, that printing money doesn't cause inflation, why do we even bother having an income tax? What if we just said, hey, you don't have to pay taxes, keep 100% of what you earn. We'll just print the money we need to fund all of our government programs. What do you think would happen if the government did that?
Our money would be worthless.
Your money would very quickly become worthless. And a reference point is Venezuela. 10 years ago, the Venezuelan bolivar used to be at the equivalent of $1. Do you know what the Venezuelan bolivar is worth today?
It's cheaper than toilet paper.
That's great. It's 1/10 of 1%, 1/10 of 1 penny. It takes 10 bolivars to make a penny. It takes 100 bolivars to make, 10 times 100. It takes 1,000 bolivars to make $1. and it used to be worth $1. And people are literally wiping their butts with bolivars because it's cheaper than buying toilet paper. So no, you just cannot print money and not have it cause inflation. And again, we've increased and by that jumped from 4 trillion to 6.8 trillion. That was per year, and we've repeated that for a couple of years. So we've pumped an extra $7 trillion in new money into the economy. And that's why we're having inflation. So let's move on to our science minute. So if you had to guess, if you had a spaceship that could travel faster than the speed of light, and you could go anywhere in the entire universe, what do you think you would find more of, diamonds or wood?
Well, considering I have a degree in earth and mineral sciences, I actually know the answer to this question.
And what my learned producer with a degree in earth and mineral sciences, what's your answer and why?
Diamonds are quite plentiful throughout the universe.
Right. And how do you make a diamond?
Pressure.
And what do you start with? What's the raw material?
Coal. It's coal under pressure.
Coal under pressure. In fact, they make synthetic diamonds nowadays, don't they? You can buy a synthetic diamond, right? And you just take some pure coal or pure carbon, and you compress it, maybe add a little heat. And I don't know whether it's a week or a month, but that's how they create synthetic diamonds. Well, anyway, coal is very, very common. Carbon is one of the most common elements in the universe. And in fact, there is a dead dwarf star. It's a star that has died, and when a star dies, it collapses in on itself. There is a dwarf star that is 90% solid diamond. It's 2,500 miles in diameter. Can you imagine? That's almost the width of the United States. Can you imagine a diamond that was the width of the United States? One solid diamond, the width of the United States?
I can't even fathom.
Now let's talk about, why is wood so rare in the universe?
Wood has a limited place where it can grow, and only a quarter of the planet is lands, and of that lands, only a fraction of it can grow wood.
Right. If you look at our solar system as an example, we're the only planet where organic life exists, or that we know organic life exists. And even on our planet, only about 1/4 of our land mass supports the growth of organic material like trees. And then you look at all these other, you look at all the rest of the solar systems, we can see, if the planets are too close to the sun, they're too hot, the wood can't grow because it's too hot. If they're too far away from the sun, trees can't grow because it's too cold, not enough sunlight. So there's this kind of Goldilocks region, and very, very few solar systems have planets that are within the Goldilocks region that also have organic life, and that also have, the other necessary things like water. So wood is very, very rare in the universe. Diamonds, very, very common. So that's your little trivia for today. Don't know if you heard this, but Sue, didn't she used to live up near Syracuse for a time, or didn't she used to spend some time up there?
Yep.
Biden was in Syracuse last Friday, and he made this claim. He said, today, the most common price of gas in America is $3.39, down from over $5 when I took office. And the people in the audience applauded. Now, did you hear him say that?
I did hear him say that, but I was having trouble believing him.
Well, let me see if I can play it. Here's a newscaster doing a fact or fiction. It's like a TV show doing a newscast, doing a fact check on Biden.
Into a claim made by President Biden yesterday. During a speech in Syracuse, New York, the president made the following claim about the current state of gas prices in our country.
Today, the most common price of gas in America is $3.39, down from over $5 when I took office.
But those numbers are fiction. When the president made his speech yesterday, the average price for gas in the country was $3.76, not $3.39. And as for the price when he took office, for the week ending January 25th, 2021, gas averaged $2.39 a gallon, not more than $5.
So the actual average was 239. Is 239 more than or less than half of $5?
It's less than.
So my question, so Biden told a whopper. He said gas was $5 a gallon, and you can go to any source, Snopes, whatever, even this TV station. The actual price was 239, less than half of five. So it actually begs three questions. The first question is, when Biden made that bald-faced, erroneous claim, was he knowingly telling a lie? Or was he just clueless and has no idea what he's talking about? And if you're the president of the United States, which of those two answers is worse, that you're a knowing liar or a clueless idiot? Any opinion, Sue?
Well, when was the last time he actually went and pumped his own gas?
But still, I mean, you've got speech writers and their job is to, prep you, give you teleprompters. I mean, you shouldn't, if you're the president, you shouldn't be just making stuff up. If you don't know, you ought to keep your mouth shut. By the way, I think my quote of the day next week, I think is going to be something along the lines of wisdom is knowing how to speak several languages. Knowledge is knowing how to speak several languages. Wisdom is knowing when to keep your mouth shut. So clearly, he told a whopper of a lie. It was less than half of $5. So the question is, did he know it wasn't $5 a lie, and was he just telling a knowing lie, or was he just clueless and had no idea what he was talking about? And when you're the president, which of those two answers is more worrisome? Which do you think is the answer, and which one is more worrisome?
I think he's just out of touch and clueless. Again, he doesn't pump his own gas. And I also blame, like you said, his speechwriters should have fact checked himself.
Right.
And I can tell you the price of gas today where I am is $3.99 a gallon on November 1st.
Uh-huh. And that's about, I think you're a little bit higher in Pennsylvania because you get higher state gas taxes. I think we're about 15 cents lower than you in New Jersey. So by the way, so does it worry you that he's that out of touch?
Yeah, he needs to come down to reality.
All right. But here's something even more worrisome. You probably don't remember this when I first read the clip. And the end of the clip was, and people in the audience applauded. Does it bother you that the people in the audience were as clueless as Biden? That my jaw would have dropped. I would have turned to the person next to me and said, is he kidding me? And
that is a bit disturbing that these people are the same people that also vote.
Yes, these people vote. He sits there, he tells a whopper of a lie. They are either too clueless to understand or too uninformed that he just told them a whopper of a lie, and they applauded him for telling this incredible lie. So I shake my head when I see stuff like that. All right. So should we move on to irony? What's the definite? Any good definitions of irony?
Oh, I have too many. Some not appropriate for radio or television.
Well, here's one. Germany, which has been bragging for the last 5 or 6 years about leading the way with green energy and solar and wind farms. Last week, Germany has announced that they're going to be tearing down a whole bunch of wind turbines. And you know why they're tearing them down?
I think you mentioned at the beginning they're building something in their place.
They're going to tear them down so they can mine for coal. Germany had formally shuttered 3 coal-fired electric power plants, and they were, they were getting a lot of their power from wind and natural gas. Now, in fairness, natural gas, if you're going to generate power with a fossil fuel, natural gas is the cleaner because there's no waste product. When you do burn coal, you get coal ash, which you have to store in mountains of coal ash. So clearly, natural gas is the cleaner of the two fuels. So Germany, a couple of years back, said we're going to close all of our coal-fired power plants. We're going to rely on wind, nuclear, and natural gas. And then Germany cut off the supply of natural gas, and we can't get ours over there fast enough. And I'll talk about why the price of natural gas went negative in Texas last week. We can't get our natural gas over to Germany quick enough. So Germany said, oh, crap, what are we going to do for electricity? And the answer was, we got to restart these coal plants, but we don't have any coal, to stockpile. So we're gonna have to mine some coal. So Germany, in one of the most ironic things, at least in this month, is tearing down their wind turbines to open up a piece of land where they can mine for coal. And I think I've talked in a previous episode, typically you don't have to go very deep to mine coal. In some places, you just scrape off 50 feet of topsoil and there's a big black river of coal down there. But so Germany is actually removing wind turbines to open up the area to provide coal for those power plants. Now, why did that natural gas go negative last week? And literally, if you were an oil and gas company in Texas last week and you were producing natural gas, you literally had to pay people to take it away. Any idea why that happened, Sue?
Did they no longer have ability to store?
Well, what happened? Normally, you put your natural gas into a pipeline. The natural gas pipelines are almost like a spider web. There's these little feeder pipelines going to like main lines, and they had two of the main natural gas pipelines were shut down for maintenance. I guess they had some problems with valves or they had a leak, so they had to shut down the pipelines. Well, they had no place. They couldn't get it into the pipeline. The pipeline couldn't take it, and the wells were still producing it. And so they were saying no, and they were scrambling to shut down their natural gas wells. But in the meantime, they had to literally pay people to come get it. By the way, do you know how natural gas is converted before it gets shipped?
No, I don't.
Well, unlike the propane, which you see in a cylinder, they pipe it through a pipeline to these big plants around Galveston and Houston on the coast, and they liquefy it. They chill it and pressure and compress it down into a liquid. And by the way, propane, when you go get your propane tank filled at the local for your barbecue, that is liquid. That propane is liquid. It's been pressurized and converted to a liquid. In fact, if you pick your little white propane tank up and shake it, you can actually hear it slosh around in there. So you do liquefy natural gas, but you have to get it to the gas liquefaction plant, and they couldn't do that. So, which takes us. So, by the way, so being in the oil and gas business doesn't mean you make money. And let's talk a little bit about price gouging. Biden was on saying the oil and gas companies are gouging the American people. I think I talked about this in one of my other episodes, but a lot of people believe that the oil and gas companies set the price for their oil. They don't. Do you know who sets the price of a barrel of oil, Sue?
Well, I think there's a lot of different factors.
Well, it's primarily commodity traders. Let's talk about a wheat farmer. Let's talk about wheat first. So if you're a wheat farmer and you have a wheat crop, if you go on any of the exchange, like the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, you can look and they will tell you minute by minute what people are willing to pay for your wheat crop. And these are people who trade in wheat. And so if you're a wheat farmer, and I'm going to make up numbers. So let's say that last year you sold your wheat for $2.50 a bushel. And this year, because of the war in Ukraine and whatnot, the price of wheat has gone from $2.50 a bushel to $6 a bushel. And there are commodity traders willing to pay you $6 a bushel for your wheat. And you say, well, great, here's my wheat. Give me my $6. And you've tripled your profit from the previous year, because the $2.50 you got wasn't all profit. Out of your $2.50, maybe you made 50 cents a bushel profit on your $2.50 sale. And now you're getting $6. Maybe you made 5 times the profit you made last year in your wheat. Are you, as a wheat farmer, gouging people?
No, not at all.
No, because you had a willing buyer. All you did was you were a willing seller, and you had a willing buyer who was knocking on your door saying, hey, do you have any wheat to sell? If so, I'll give you $6 a gallon. You'll say, great, here's my wheat. It's no different with oil companies. Commodity traders bid against each other for the oil that oil and gas companies produce. If you go on like any of the CNBC, any of the shows that have the stock market, you'll see that literally the price of a barrel of oil changes every 5 seconds. That is not the oil companies adjusting the price of a barrel of oil. That's the commodity traders bidding against each other for the oil, and all the oil companies are saying, no, well, who's willing to pay me the most? Here, take it. So they are not, taking advantage of the American people. They don't control. And by the way, oil is the primary cost element in a gallon of gas. So no, it is not the oil and gas companies who are gouging the American people. That's just another lie. And Biden has to know that's a lie. Yes, are they making record profits? Absolutely. By the way, in 2020, ExxonMobil lost $22 billion in 2020. There was a day, or actually a couple of days, when oil fell less than $10 a barrel, actually went negative. And the same thing that happened with natural gas is that oil companies had to pay people to take their oil. All of the oil storage in Henry Hub was overflowing. There's a place in Oklahoma where they have a big oil storage facility where if you have excess oil, you can put it there, but you have to pay them daily a per barrel per day fee. Oil companies, I was down in Midland, Odessa, you would see on railroad sidings, you would see mile-long lines of tank cars, oil tank cars, sitting full of oil, just sitting there on the railroad siding. They literally couldn't give their oil away, and they lost 22 billion. Nobody ever wants to talk about that. So yes, are they making record profits? Yes. Are they
I think
gouging
what
the
they need to
American?
differentiate is the difference between their gross profits and their net profits.
That's it. But yeah, by the way, even with all of that, ExxonMobil, by the way, year to date is only making a 14% net profit. Even if you cut that in half, it would only knock about 20 cents a gallon off the price of a gallon of gas. So the fact that the price of a gallon of gas is up $2 to $3 from what it was 18 months ago is not because of oil companies making a 14% profit. You can say, okay, if they made a 7% profit, what would that do? Well, it would knock 20 cents off. What's responsible for the other $1.80? It's not the oil company. So anyway, I could ramble on about other stuff, or we could just move right along to taxpayer relief shots. What do you think? So any questions or anything you want to chime in?
Sounds good.
All right. For those who don't know what a taxpayer relief shot is, we don't do this to celebrate the death of the bad guy, but the reason I call them a taxpayer relief shot is when a good guy with a gun or a good woman with a gun occasionally shoots and kills a thug, that's has broken into their home or is trying to rob them at knife point, and they shoot and kill the thug. It saves the taxpayers the cost of a jury trial, and almost every thug can't afford an attorney, so they get a court-appointed attorney. And typically there's an appeal, so that's another trial. Then there's a jury, and a felony trial is going to go on for at least a week. And then if he gets convicted, he's going to get at least a couple of years in jail at $60,000 to $80,000 per year. That's what it costs to keep a guy in prison these days. And then if he gets released on parole, you got probationary expenses. They got to put the ankle monitor. The guy's got to check in with his probation officer. So we call them taxpayer relief shots, and it's just not me. Let me tell you, I want you to listen to what the sheriff of Santa Rosa County, Florida has to say about good guys with guns shooting thugs.
Yeah. If somebody's breaking in your house, you're more than welcome to shoot them in Santa Rosa County. We prefer that you do, actually. Hopefully you'll save the taxpayers money.
All right, now I'm going to turn the volume up on that, and it's one of my favorite quotes, and I'm going to play one more time for you.
If somebody's breaking in your house, you're more than welcome to shoot them in Santa Rosa County. We prefer that you do, actually. Hopefully you'll save the taxpayers money.
And now, coincidentally, we have another Florida sheriff, a guy named Grady Judd, and he is from Polk County, Florida, the next county over. And here's what Sheriff Grady, this is right after the hurricane. They were having problems with looters right after the hurricane last month. And here's what Sheriff Grady Judd has to say about looters.
I would highly suggest that if a looter breaks into your home, comes into your home while you're there to steal stuff, that you take your gun and you shoot him. You shoot him so that he looks like grated cheese.
Did you get that too? Was it loud enough?
Yeah, I think he might have meant Swiss cheese, but grated cheese is
Grated
quite
cheese
an
works.
analogy.
So there you have two sheriffs are basically saying, yep, shoot the bad guys. We prefer that you do. So that's why we call them taxpayer relief shots. Anyway, this one is pretty interesting. I want you to listen to how incompetent the 911 operator is. And just imagine if the bad guy was still in the house. This 911 operator is absolutely clueless. It's her son has just shot and killed a thug. And by the way, it was two thugs. And what always happens when there's two thugs, when one gets shot, the other one says, see ya, I'm out of here, and leaves his buddy behind. In the military, it's never leave a soldier behind. When you're a thug and your buddy gets shot, man, you're out the door, you're gone. So here's the grandmother, but listen to how incompetent the 911 operator is.
Charlotte Mecklenburg 911, Rodriguez, you need police, fire, or medic?
Yes, somebody just broke in the house and we shot.
Okay,
He's
was
out
anybody
there-
home when this happened?
We're home. He's out there bleeding, for God's sake. He broke our window. He was coming in.
Okay, so he's out there.
Is he still there? And his friend, he's probably dead. His friend pulled away in the gray. We didn't get the license number. Everything
Oh.
happened so fast, we didn't get it.
By the way, that's her grandson in the background. Listen to see if you can hear what the grandson is saying in the background. She's kind of relaying the message from the grandson.
Okay, all right, so he's no longer there, but this just happened, is that correct?
Hello.
Yes, can you tell me if he's still there?
History Grove Police, they're the ones that patrol us here, and they know about these people. They robbed us before.
All right, and right now, just happened?
Yes, it just happened. But his
Okay.
friend drove away in a gray, like an SUV, but we didn't get the license number. We were worried about the guy out back.
Oh, so who was he, black, white, Hispanic, or Asian?
He's black, white,
What was he wearing?
What was he wearing? He's dead in the driveway. What's he wearing?
dead. Maybe the paramedics can get him to talk.
Okay, hold on.
He wouldn't stop. He kept coming.
Okay. All right, hold on. I'm gonna get you medic, okay? So we can get medic en route. Stay on the line for medic.
The police too.
Yes, we're gonna get police en route, but stay on the line for medic, okay? So he shot, is that what you're telling me? Or he just hurt himself breaking in?
The man was
Was he shot or did he hurt himself breaking in? How many times has she told him that my grandson shot him and he's laying in the driveway bleeding? It's not over yet. Hang on.
breaking into the window. He was halfway in the window. My grandson told him to stop and get out of here, and he didn't. So my grandson shot.
Okay, hold on. Stay on the line. Stay on the line for medic. We're gonna get medic en route, and then we'll get the police on the way, okay? Stay on the line.
Thank you.
What do you think, Sue? You think she's top of her class in 911 dispatcher
Yeah.
school?
Somebody needs some more training.
God. I mean, how many times did she said, is he still there? What was he wearing? And she's trying to tell him he's dead, bleeding in the driveway. I mean, it was just beyond belief. All right. Anyway, I think that's all I got. By the way, any suggestions for next week's show that anything you'd like me to talk about? Of course, go ahead.
I'll have to pull up some articles and send them to you to ponder over.
All right. Of course, we may have a little to talk about because it'll be the elections. Depending on if we hold off till Wednesday, maybe we talk about the election results.
I cannot wait for these elections to be over so I
All
can
right.
stop with these commercials and the flyers cluttering up my mailbox.
Are you available next Wednesday?
I will need to double check my schedule.
Yeah, so maybe we'll push it back from Tuesday to Wednesday so we can record on Wednesday. Anyway, I want to thank all of you who listened to this podcast for giving up 30 minutes out of your busy day to listen to me ramble on about the things I find of interest and importance. And I hope you found some of those topics as interesting and important as I did. And if so, I hope you continue to listen to this podcast in the weeks and the months to come. If you want to see some of the materials and the story links you heard me talk about today, you can find them on the Jerzee Joe .com website. Again, that's Jerzee Joe, Jerzee. That's Jersey with a Z, Z-E-E, JerzeeJoe.com, with Jerzee and Jerzee again, Jerzee. Sue puts up a lot of the show materials, a lot of the links that I have, some of the stories, like some of the audio clips you've heard. You'll find those there too. My quote of the day will be there. If you want to email me with a comment, question, or suggested show topic, you can do that just by sending me an email to joe@jerziejoe.com. Just remember to spell Jersey with a Z-E-E. And that's Sue, that's all I got. Anything from you?
No, just enjoying this mild weather we're still enjoying on this November 1st.
Same here, and I will talk to you next week, hopefully on Wednesday, all right?
Yep, sounds good.
All right, take care, Sue. Take care. All right.
Thanks, bye.
Bye-bye.